Welcome to Tapped In, our weekly live show exploring embodiment, creativity, and life after unraveling. I am your co-host, Siobhan. This is our other co-host, Midori, and we are part of the Soft Power Collective. If this is your first time joining us, this is a fun show where we are going to get into just stories of exploring what it's like to be tapped into spirit and to live our lives in pursuit of this alignment. And our guest today is Marta Elise, who is multifaceted, and I'll let Midori do the intro. So before I dive into all that, I guess let's ring us in.
You are now tapped into the soft power frequency.
All right, feeling good. If this is your first time watching, my name's Siobhan Duras. I am a birth witch. I am a spiritual care practitioner and the founder of the Birth Realm, a labor method for magical people giving birth. I'm a little jumbled today on the description because life is just changing in the most beautifully and aligned ways. And I am going to pass it to Midori so that we could just dive into it all today.
Yep, and I'm Midori. I am an artist alchemist. I am also your friendly neighborhood witch. I combine a lot of different mystical modalities, but my main ones are astrology, oracle cards, tarot, divination, as well as just general creativity. And here to introduce our very special guest, Marta, who is a witch, healer, intuitive hypnotist, and animal communicator. A full-time mystic with her head in the clouds and feet on the ground. I love that. Pronouns are she, they, because gender cannot be contained. Yes, welcome, Marta.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
We're so excited to have you. And just to give a little background, we connected with Marta this past year in Captolia's Witch and Famous group. It felt super aligned to invite you on, especially after you have been sharing recently about your desire to take all of these spiritual talents and gifts and bring them into a really practical, political, action-oriented way. So I think that was the moment when I was like, I want to talk to Marta. I want to have her on the show. And since then, we've chatted a lot more. You entered into the soft power community, and I'm just excited for this kind of like budding relationship that's growing. And so this is going to be really cool to look back on one day of just kind of this intro conversation and to see that's kind of how we see Tapped In as kind of like a public archive of our journeys. And so really excited to have you on here. And our first question always is, what are you celebrating?
Right now, I am celebrating Cancer season and Mercury in Cancer. It just feels like so many things are like popping off. And like, as we talked about, I have like a lot of Saturn in my chart. So like that Mercury in Cancer, it just feels really, really good. And I'm also celebrating becoming a hypnotist. Like that really, I finished my training officially in March, but like just started opening up my books and like taking people in, and I'm really stoked on that.
What about you, Midori?
I am celebrating just like my capacity to hold more lately. I think there's a lot of different projects in the field and swirling in the ether. And we've been talking a lot about like materializing them within the past few months. And yeah, just like allowing myself to flow and not like constrict myself in the like framework that everything needs to get done or there's like a ton of urgency, and just letting things kind of like organically develop. So yeah, I'm really celebrating the growth that I feel and I see in myself to just like hold more and just flow and know that things are going to happen in the time that they're supposed to and unfold in like the way that they're supposed to. So that's what I'm celebrating. What about you, Siobhan?
Same, honestly. Yeah, Cancer season starting. You know, I'm a Cancer sun and Mercury, so I'm feeling good. And it was literally like clockwork that the solstice hit, and everything that has felt like a really slow build up this entire year, honestly, feels like it's just like finally coming together. It all just kind of like smacked me at once. So I'm really just processing and like reminding myself to stay present, to stay present and to receiving and to just like soaking in this moment, because it feels like one that I've been anticipating for a while. And right before we went live, Marta said like it's all happening, and I'm just like, yeah, like everything's happening, everything's materializing, and I think it's just a testament to like the seeds that were planted even a few years ago finally starting to like bud up. And so that's been really exciting.
Yeah. It's like so much patience too. Like you really can't rush things. And I think like I'm an Aries sun and Mercury, and I'm always like so excited. And I think I can see the future like really clearly, or like somatically feel into the vision and like know all the steps that need to happen. And I'm realizing like so much of that process like has to be emergent, which we talk about all the time. But actually embodying that is like something different when you feel like you can hold the vision so well or see it so clearly. So I'm celebrating our capacity to just like let things grow and meld and mesh. And I like what you were saying, Marta. I don't know where I saw this, but you said the spider web of connections. And I really do feel that like we're building this web and network. And like I've always made this analogy, it's all these puzzle pieces that we can't see where they fit in until we start to like, yeah, we just see it. We start to see them all come in. So
Cool. Well, I feel like those are perfect celebrations for just everything we talk about, because this really is a show of what's it like to actually live out this commitment. And it takes everybody a different pace. Everybody, you know, like you said, being emergent, like seeing a vision, and then maybe some interaction happens that opens a new door that's like, okay, being detached from that feeling. And so, with that said, I want to just pass it to Marta to let us in on when you hear this invitation to share about your unraveling. Like, go in. What have you unraveled? And I imagine this spider web was like a re-raveling of things. And so I would just love to let you take it away.
Yeah. Gosh, I feel like there's so many places I could go with like the unraveling, because it feels like my life has unraveled and like been put
It's
back
loaded, I
together
know.
so many times. But like the main thing that I feel like really brought me to where I am today is like in late 2015, early 2016, I started working at this job. I started out as like basically just making appointments, and then I really quickly ended up being like an operations manager, and it was a contracting company, and it was just like really demanding, but I also like poured myself into it to kind of detach from my real life. And then one day I woke up and I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm working 65 hours a week. Like, I'm always available. I am like, this isn't right. And I had a really, like, always, like, my whole life, I was definitely like psychic, but I was also tamping it down and like not no like I'll do that a little bit, but like only when I want to, you know. And that's not how it works like at all. And so in 2017, I don't know what the hell I did. I was messing around. I didn't close a circle properly, and like something in my apartment started, like, there's so many different schools of thoughts on these things, but in my opinion, I was being severely haunted to the point where like I was hearing things and I thought somebody was narrating like my every move, and I was like, Mom, I don't know, like something's not right. I don't think I'm okay. And I left there and I went and I stayed with her, and like all of that stopped. And I actually went to a Reiki practitioner during that time, and she gave me some tips. And like, that was a moment when I was really like, okay, I need to take my spirituality and this ability really seriously and learn ways to work with it instead of work against it. And then from there, it just like, I was ended up talking to somebody that was living across the country in Portland. And like one day at my job, I had a really bad day and I typed in dog and Portland and like found a great job, moved across the country. When I lived in Portland, I ended up getting Reiki 1 and 2 trained there. And then the pandemic hit. And then that was like another unraveling where like I was fortunate to still have a job, but it was like madness because we were essential and just all the things that go along with like constantly adapting every day. And I'm an only child, and I was like, I am all the way on the other side of the country, and like, what if something happens to my mom or like my elderly grandparents who, to be quite honest, I'm not super close with them, but still just the thought of like something happening and like not being able to get to them or like get home, whatever. And so I did it all again. I came back home and like tore down my life. And I spent from July of 2020 until like March, I think, of 21, unemployed and just living off of savings and credit cards. And just like really digging deep into meditation. And I actually did in January 21, did like a Reiki master training, but never pursued the official certification for that because it never felt aligned to me. Like, I know that that's some people's path, but that something about it like really didn't sit well with me to like take that title on. It just wasn't for me. But yeah, it actually was through the person that I took that training with that I found Desiree, my hypnosis teacher. And I didn't even ever think I would be a hypnotist. It wasn't like something I thought of. But in October 2020, I think I had a tarot reading. And I was telling the tarot reader about this book that I read that was Pocket Guide to Interpersonal Neurobiology. And I was like, it's just so cool. And like, it talks all about like how meditation literally changes your brain. And she was like, well, what about being a hypnotherapist? And I was like, what? Like, I don't think I can do that. Like, don't you have to be a therapist to be a hypnotherapist? So immediately after that, I like got on Google and was like learning all about like how do you become a hypnotherapist? And like, yeah, you do technically, to call yourself a hypnotherapist, have to be a therapist. And then I like really quickly found out that there's no regulation around that in the US. And so like, how do you know that your training is legit? That sort of thing. So I just kind of put it on the shelf, put it on the back burner. And then last summer, I found my hypnosis teacher is Desiree Eckert, and they talked about how their training is evidence-based and based on neuroscience. And I was like, you're the one. Like, I had found a couple other people and like kind of been interested in working with them, but like Desiree, I was like, you're the one. So that's kind of how, kind of like what you were talking about, Midori, like you don't really know how it's going to happen. But then one day, you know, here I am 3 years later, and I'm offering hypnosis to people and Reiki and all the things. So.
Wow. I have so many questions, but the first thing that just stands out to me is just how you have just been propelled by your intuition to do these things. And I had actually a conversation this morning with someone around that who was doubting their spiritual experience or their connection to spirit and intuition, but then was saying things like, yeah, I almost did Reiki, but something kind of felt off, so I didn't. And I was like, that was your discernment. Like, that was your intuition telling you. And that to me shows you are so tapped in, because you're like, yeah, like something. And I also really relate to that in 2020. All those thoughts, I remember having those thoughts of just like, what if we can't get on a flight anymore? Like, what if, and I genuinely, like, I remember I had a little trip planned to visit my friends in LA, and I ended up not even making it to the airport because that was just, maybe it's just that year was so like uncertain that I was thinking that, like, oh my God, what if I got on a flight and like I'm separated from my son and I have to like run, from LA to San Francisco? Like, there's things that now I'm just like, okay, a little bit not rational, but also very rational for what it was at the time. And my question, like my first question for you is, knowing that were working with magic, that you knew you had these gifts for so long, what was the difference for you then entering into hypnotism and meditation? What was that shift for you in that like necessity for those things?
The really understanding myself as like a super energetically porous being, and really understanding like the need for a daily meditation practice. And like, honestly, I accredit that to Reiki, because before that, like for some reason, like I had meditated before and I had done like listened to a lot of guided meditations and stuff, but like for some reason being told that in order to be good at this thing you have to meditate every day, I was like, okay, I'll do it now. And I didn't mention this before, but when I was 17, I had I'm pretty sure, I don't have it like medically verified, but I'm pretty sure I had an ovarian cyst rupture. And I was at a friend's house and I called my mom from their bathroom floor, like, I think I'm dying. I'm in so much pain. And it was a Friday, and like, I'm pretty sure that most hospitals are totally bonkers on Fridays, but like the hospital that's closest to us is like always just flat out on Friday. Like you'll be waiting all night. And she was like, well, we can go to the ER or we can try this other thing. And we went to Reiki, and I walked in like hunched over, like couldn't walk, and I walked out, and it was like the most, I saw colors. It was like a totally transformative experience for me. And after that, I intuitively understood how to channel that energy, but like I wasn't doing it in what you could call like a safe way, I guess, for myself, because like I would be tired after, and I never did it. Like I would do it for my pets and like my family, and I would show friends, like, you know what I can do.
Like, it is so fun to show friends.
Yeah.
Why are your hands so hot right now?
Yeah. So I think it was really like the Reiki training that did it for me. And then like that experience with that, how, I mean, like, I can't even tell you, I was so scared even to walk into my apartment. It was just, I don't even like know how to describe that feeling. And so learning that like working with energy and my own energy, as well as like tapping into source energy and calling on, whatever it may be. Like I call on angels a lot, and like I have an uncle who passed before I was born, but like have a lifelong connection with him. Like I know when he's around, so like I call on him a lot. And then also when I was reading Pocket Guide to Interpersonal Neurobiology, which is by Daniel J. Siegel, really like understanding that what I was doing wasn't just like an energetic thing, but also really affecting my physical body and my being. That was like fascinating to me. And that is like, how can you not say that like that's magic? Like I don't like and that like our energy and how we direct it isn't magic. Like I don't know how you go back from that. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
And then with learning hypnosis, like, and just all of the ways that you create a hypnotic experience for people is like taking people into their imagination, which is our imaginations are just like so powerful, but we're also using like real life frames of reference. So like the sounds that you hear, and any like, can you smell anything, and like textures, and can you feel the air. And for like the first 3 weeks after my hypnosis training, every single thing I did, I was like, this is hypnotic. Like, I'm locking the door and it's making a sound, and like that's super hypnotic. I'm walking around and like the whole world seemed brighter, you know. Did that answer your question?
Wow.
Yeah.
So we want to get some more.
Even you just describing it as hypnotic. I'm like, yeah. Like,
you have like a really grounded way of describing these like very just like magical concepts to me. Yeah, like my like question was like, what is hypnosis and what differentiates it, I guess, from like other forms of, I guess, like trance journeying. And
so I think it really depends on like what your definition is, because like we all go in and out of trance states every day. Like picking up your phone, you're like in a trance. Watching TV, you know, people talk about like highway hypnosis, that sort of thing. Like anything with a screen, or like I find washing dishes, like that puts me in a trance, you know, like and like walking. So it's like we go in and out of these little flow states all the time. And I guess the way that I would say like hypnosis can differentiate from like, say, meditation trance would be like, you're going in with a really specific goal to like change something or a mindset. And like I kind of said before we went live, like a lot of times in hypnosis we sort of tap into the thing that we want to change, and we associate into it just a little bit for the brain, but then we kind of superimpose what we actually want over that thing, so that way the new neural pathways can get created in the brain.
love. I love this approach of neurobiology in it, and I think that is the route that I've been gravitating more toward. And I still like seek this balance where part of me is like, just let it be magic. I don't want to over explain and over just as if it needs to be justified in the science, but it is so fucking cool to see it just reflected in our biology. And it reminds me a lot of birth, because in birth, you know, my segue into things was as a birth doula, my segue into like seeing things more magically, and then coming to the conclusion like, wow, like your body safety is reflected in your hormones. And you could say it's like, it's just cause and effect or whatever. But to me, I'm like, no, I think it's just like a mirror in this design of what's happening that's reflected in your body. And it's really valuable to show people that like, yeah, magic is science. This is ancient science. This is like divine design. And that is just so cool to me.
Yes, that's like my favorite place to play, because like, I don't know, trance, like you said, like hypnosis is really just in some ways, depending on how it's used, it's like colonized trance, right? Because
into it. Let's go.
I'm like, go on.
All our ancestors have been doing, right? And it's like you find it across cultures throughout time. And that's really I don't want to speak for Desiree, but I know she wants to bring more witches into hypnosis, because it's such a white male dominated sphere. And like what she always says is like, they're bad witches. Like, because in some trainings, from what I've heard, like there's a thing, you know, you want to build rapport, and some of these people do it in like a really skeezy way where they like try to mimic the other person's body language. And like pickup artistry
Whoa.
is based on hypnosis. Like, it's
Mm.
so icky, you know? So, like,
Yeah.
So, like, hella manipulative.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's why, like, to have people that are aware of that and also aware of the ways, and like, this is freaking ancient magic, you know? Like, it's not like some new thing that somebody just invented. It goes back thousands of years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that really speaks to the integrity of something we've talked about a lot, both Midori and I privately and on here, which is like intuition will lead you, but I think every person who then wants to take a practitioner, a service role, you do have a responsibility to look for the frameworks, look for the other things so that you're not like, I just thought of this all, I just channeled this all. And that's cool and that's true. And I've channeled a lot of concepts that then I read something and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what and I'm just like, go me. Like I just figure that shit out myself. But like there's a responsibility that we have. And I love that you're like, that's where your curiosity turns to, is like, all right, let's get the evidence and stuff so that I'm being in integrity this whole time.
I think also there's a difference in like using science and frameworks to like deepen your understanding of like the wonder of the mystery of like life versus like using it to manipulate and like dominate people in like non-consensual ways, you know, which is like two different things. It's like it sounds like you're using this framework and learning and under someone's mentorship to like deepen your ability to hold that responsibility, and that's just so beautiful, and like present all this like information and data and like ways that like can help people understand, like broaden your audience, or like you're not your audience or your client base more too, you know, because I think that's what we're being tasked to do, is to just like use a lot of different ways to, or just like educate ourselves in ways that we can explain what we do to more different types of people too, or people who have like grew up in different frameworks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like to really change the world, like that's kind of what we have to do, right? To like really get people to think about things differently. And like I always say, like, if I work with one person and that one person takes something away from that and like does one little change in their life, like that is a greater ripple effect that like I can't see necessarily, but it's out there.
Beautiful. I love Desiree's work. I was actually already looking at it too when you shared, and I was like, cool. Like, I know someone who went through it. And what I really love is like, not that I've worked with Desiree, but in general, this idea of like so many people's entry point into magic is like picking up a witchcraft book, trying spells. And so I didn't enter through that way. I haven't been like, you know, I didn't read all those things growing up and have that hobby as a teenager, like many people's story is. And I think that when I started to first engage in witchy online spaces in the pandemic, I was feeling like I was so far behind. I'm so new. And then I would go into these spaces and just see how really disembodied a lot of it was, how a lot of it was like, you have no somatic or like meditation practice. You have no, it's like very conceptual deity. Like there's this wall that you're speaking through to reach the deity. And it was so interesting to me that I was like, oh, like this isn't automatic. And it kind of like opened my eyes. That was just like, all right, magic means so many different things to so many different people. I don't really know where I was going with that, but that was just fascinating to me, and it shocked me. And Midori and I said the same thing. We're like, I think we're actually a lot more advanced than we think we are with our intuitions.
Yeah, I relate to that too, because I didn't have that hobby as a teen. Like same around like 2020, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm really behind. And that's why like in 2016, I did something. I don't even remember what I think I was like trying to clear the space and I just didn't do a good job. And instead of clearing it, I was like, hey, whatever's here, come on in. And it just like
dangerous.
Yeah.
Like witch talk education is so dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. And so and then like you said, like the more I got into it, I was like, oh, I've kind of been doing this like in my own way my whole life, you know, and I just have to get deeper into that connection that I already have. And then like, you know, I'm doing ancestor work and like that sort of thing, but like it doesn't all have to be like from, I don't know, like those witchy books or like this is like the ABCs of like witchcraft. And a lot of that stuff is just like cherry picked from all different cultures. And it's just like
this culture, this color means this. I'm like, to who?
Yeah, exactly.
Use a red candle for da-da-da. I'm like,
just like I've always been like,
why? Me always. Why?
I mean, I think that was like also my like intuitive hit from just institutional schooling, being like, this is all bullshit. Like, there's just no way, like just having that feeling from a very young age that, what we're taught or what is like claimed to be knowledge or wisdom, if it's not actually backed up by cultural,
if you can't ask why, if you're not allowed to ask where this came from, if it's off limits on, well, I thought that guy was, you know, I won't even give examples right now, but like that's obviously rampant in witchy spaces. Like, oh, that guy who wrote that, you just think that's a little asterisk that he was like in a Nazi party. Like, you don't think that, you think that's just a little detail that doesn't mean anything? What the fuck? Like,
I really want to ask about your relationship with animals and that, you know, sort of deepening into that. Yeah, just knowing, how did that?
So growing up, I'm an only child. I think I mentioned that already. And my family actually moved down to South Coast, Mass after two of my cousins moved in with us and they ended up leaving. So anyway, that we were in a much more rural area after being up in the city. So we had the opportunity to like actually really have pets. And I had a friend whose mom fed stray cats, and we ended up with like, so we took one of them, we had 2 cats, and we took one extra cat in. We were like, oh, she got brought into the house of my friend's house and they couldn't have her. So we took her, and it turned out that she was pregnant. And she ended up having kittens, and everybody had a different favorite. But like there was one that was nobody's favorite, and we were like, we can't just give one away. So we ended up with like, I don't know, 7 cats, and we had a dog as well. And I was also homeschooled for 2 years because the schools around me were just like not so great. And I really, really dug my heels in, and I was like, I don't want to go on scholarship to that really fancy private school with all those rich kids. Like, I don't want to do that. And my mom was like, fine, we'll do this. And so I spent a lot of time with my pets, and my mom and I would like kind of narrate their thoughts. But then like the more that we did it, the more it was like, oh, we're not actually making this up. Like, this is kind of really what's going on with their heads. And especially my golden retriever, his name was Charlie. He had really expressive eyes, and like his little eyebrows, like you could really see into like what he was thinking. And so it just like, the more that I was like, oh no, like I think that you want, I don't know, like this treat, and you get really excited when I give it to you, like, okay, that's kind of confirmation. And then just like allowing more space in between the question and what I think the answer should be, to really just like kind of open that little channel for whatever their energy wants to tell me. And my mom and I would also like kind of test it, be like, whoa, I'm going to ask them this. And like, what's the answer? And like, we'd both get the same thing. Like we actually adopted another dog because Charlie was really lonely. This was when I was in high school. So I was like back in public school again. And her name at the shelter was Holly, but I kept wanting to call her Abby. And I told my mom that, and she was like, oh my God, me too. Like, okay, that's her name. Her name's Abby. And another time.
No, next time I want your mom on here too.
Okay, yeah. She'd love it. She's rad. Yeah, and then I found a cat outside of a pizza place one night. It was like pouring rain, and my mom went in to get the pizza. And I was sitting in the car, and this poor cat kept going up to everybody that was coming out of the pizza place, and everyone was ignoring her. And so I watched this happen like 5 or 6 times, and I was like, nope, not on my watch. You're my cat now. So I got out, scared the shit out of my mom because she came back to the car and I wasn't there. Like, I got this cat, like, she's covered in ticks, like she needs a home. And so we're driving home, and my mom's like, what's your name? And then at the same time, we're both like, Emily. Her name was Emily. Yeah.
How many pets do you have right now?
Right now, I have a dog and 3 cats.
Okay.
Especially doing cancer.
I'm surprised we don't see just like cats walking everywhere behind you right now.
It's actually a miracle that my cat is not screaming his head off because I'm not in the same room as him right now.
That just is a testament to your telepathic relationship, that they knew you had things to do.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, okay, so you're an animal communicator. How, like, is that something that you've ever done for other people? Have you ever, like, so I'm imagining you do Reiki as well on pets. So what has that been like?
Yeah.
Do people just like hit you up and say like, hey, can you help me figure out what's going on with my pet? Or is that a thing you've explored?
Yeah, I offer that too. So that was actually something that came about, like actually offering it to people came about because it was 2020 and I was unemployed. And I think I did like a Reiki giveaway for people. And then my first client found me from somebody that said they had a nice experience with me. And like, I don't know, her dog had been attacked by another dog, and she was an elderly dog. And so that was like my first client experience, and it was really affirming. She was such a cool dog. Like she, yeah, I don't know. What I do for that is I do all of my sessions like fully remote, and then we chat after. Because it's just easier for me to like really fully focus in that way as opposed to like being on Zoom. I've tried it that way a couple of times, and it's just not, I don't know, it's not the best way for me to work. So I ask for a picture of their pet, and then I do Reiki and just let anything come through, and I like write down notes, and then we chat after. And there's always the opportunity, of course, like when they do the intake form, for anything specific that they want to know about. And then of course afterwards the connection is still there. So like if anything else comes up while we're chatting on like the post Reiki Zoom, then I'll answer questions that way. But yeah, it's really fun to talk to pets. They're really funny, and they're so honest. Like I had a dog recently that was like, I want more walks. And I'm like, yeah, I most dogs are like, more walks, please. Like, come on. Why are we inside all the time? Why do you gotta go to work?
That's so cool.
And I also use a lot of what I learned, because when I was in Portland, I worked at a holistic pet store or pet supply store. We didn't sell pets. And so like I learned a lot about like just pet nutrition and that sort of thing there. So like I always tell people I'm not a vet, but this is what I learned. And like you can take this information and research it for yourself, or like talk to your vet. And like, these are some things that might help with whatever's going on.
I have to tell you something right now. When I pulled up the rapid fire questions, I've had it saved here, and I just looked down, and the question that's in this little corner is, do you like the name Charlie?
Oh, he's here. Today's his
What
birthday.
a random question to have on this website.
Today's his birthday.
I want to cry.
Hi, Charlie.
That was really cute.
Dang.
Wow. Live magic here on Tuesday. Every time. Every time we just got some live magic happening. I'm curious. What do you think, and this is a question for both of y'all, like philosophically, what do you think it is that makes people connect with like animals more versus plants versus whatever? Is it like, do you think that you connect equally, and you really feel called to the animals, or what do you think? I don't know, just random philosophy
I have
question.
a general observation that a lot of people just get pets to exert power over them. Which is sad, but it's true. Like, given
That's why people have children.
Yeah,
people get
ownership,
wives,
right? Like ownership over something when they don't have control over their own lives. They don't feel empowered or like they have agency. Not to get dark, but that's something I always do. I always I like low key can tell so much about someone by how they treat their animals.
It's sickening sometimes.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, that says a lot about you that you tug on their leash like that. You know, or that you're like treating and talking to basically your pet children, like your animal children like that, which is like so fascinating to me. So that's my like general like psychological analysis of pets. But I think like, yeah, I think when people do connect deeply to animals, it's so like inherent to like who we are, to like connect with. Yeah.
Because can I make a confession?
Yeah.
Midori knows this. I don't connect with pets at all. Like, I'm very standoff. And I think it's like, it is like a respect thing that I don't know what they're thinking. And maybe I think I don't know what they're thinking because I haven't like really tried that. But I think that's something about me that actually surprises a lot of people, that I'm so open and warm, and I'm like with the flowers and with all like the ocean. But like with pets, I just kind of like freeze up, and I am just like, great. And I keep my distance. Like, I'm not the person that's going to run up to a dog. Or a cat. Like Midori had these cats that would just come and just like stare me down. And I'd be like, what do you know? Like, what is it? What is it?
I think you must have a lot of respect for them. That's kind of what I feel like. It's like, I think because they can't speak to you, that it may kind of freak you out, because you know that they know, like you know that they're like,
like, I don't want to touch them if I'm not sure they want to be touched.
What do you think, Marta? I feel like you could probably give some insight into why Siobhan's.
Yeah, no, you're respecting their agency. Like, you're respecting their agency as like a full and sovereign being, you know, like, because that's how I see animals. And like, I totally agree with what you said, Midori. Like, people do like to exert power over things and just like have something to control. And it's like, and I also think it depends on like your experiences early on with animals and plants too, like which relationships like are fostered when you're younger. That can play a big role. But I think you hit the nail on the head, Siobhan. Like, you don't know what you're thinking. You don't know if they want you to pet them or not. Like, you're just respecting that, like, that's a sentient being, and they have their own wants and needs and likes and dislikes, and you don't necessarily feel like you know what they are. So like,
well, because the joke with my friends when we were younger used to be, Siobhan hates animals. And I would literally, and I would just like,
at all.
No.
Mm-mm.
Well, that was just how it always was, because they were just like, oh yeah, Siobhan doesn't like animals. And I'd be like, yeah, they freak me out. not that I don't like them. I was like, I would, and that's what I would always say. It's like, you guys, I love animals. I just don't feel the need to like hold them and like, well, there's some animals I really want to hold.
Like the sheep that you always post. Yeah.
Lambs, little lambs, cows, snakes,
Yeah.
spiders.
You have to give yourself a
So
credit.
twisted one. Banana slugs. When I was little at summer camp, I would always collect the little banana slugs. Have you ever seen banana slugs?
What do those look like?
They're literally yellow
They're huge.
slugs and they're big. I
Yeah,
think
they're
I'm like, maybe they're only in California.
Yeah, they're like
Um,
in like wetter climates.
Yeah. I'm like,
There is some slug that lives around here that I've seen that gets really, really big, but it doesn't look like a leopard, but it has like it's like brownish and it has like these little.
To screen share. For everyone that's on the podcast, Siobhan is sharing photos of banana slugs on the screen. Oh.
they're awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are cool.
I love communicating with animals. I think like it's so
Tell me more, Midori. What animals do you communicate with?
I like love. So there was a lot of deer. Deer just have like this sort of mysterious. It's not even mysterious, but it's just like instant connection, and like they're so hypersensitive. I think to like stimulus. So like I just feel really like I relate really hard to them because that's how I am. I'm like hypersensitive to sound. So I just feel like their energy is like very aligned with mine. Yeah.
You're totally like a deer. I could see that. That's definitely ancestral.
Yeah, like Japanese deer.
Yeah.
Like, seeing them when I went to Tokyo and like the city centers and being like, whoa. They're obviously like conditioned to want. Because have you seen those videos of people going up to the deer and like feeding them? So they're like not at all scared of humans, but just their eyes and yeah, the energy is so beautiful.
Marta, what kind of animals are in your neighborhood? Like what's the wildlife like out there?
We have a lot of bunnies and we have deer.
Really?
Yeah, we have a lot of bunnies. We like throw our food scraps out, like the ones I can eat, like fruit and stuff, like strawberry tops. Get a strawberry that's like you can't eat it, but the bunnies can, so we'll throw that out the window for them. We actually had one lay down in the yard the other day, and I was like, "Is that a DEAD bunny?" Like she didn't even want to say it, and I was like, "No, it can't be." And it like, I was like, "Are you okay, dude? Are you okay?" And then he like popped his head up, and he was just like chilling, like so relaxed in the yard, like. So yeah, we have deer, bunnies. Coyote, but I don't see them ever, but they're definitely here. Yeah, groundhogs, fox, but I don't really see them. We're in the woods pretty much. Like I had 2 months ago, maybe no more than that. A few months ago, I went outside at night and there were like 4 deer that just like walked right through my yard, and I heard their hooves and I looked over and I was like, it was the most like majestic thing. It was like lightly snowing too. It was super rad. I love deer.
Wow, real Disney princess. Like
literally.
I've been joking about that because you know the movie Enchanted when she's like singing and it's like the pigeons and the rats and everything like in her home. That's how I feel because there was one night I was on the phone, probably with Midori, and there's like a spider just like walked right up to my eyes and just
that happens to you all the time, Siobhan. Like probably once a week, Siobhan will be like, "Oh, there's a spider."
They just come and look at me in the eyes. But then the other animals around here are like raccoons.
Oh yeah, we have those.
Oh my god, they're kind of killing me sitting in my backyard sometimes. There was one that was just right there up on the fence where I was sitting in my garden. I was like, bro, no. Like they again also make me uneasy. I'm like, all of our animals Skunks, raccoons. There are coyotes around here. Rarely will you see them, and they're tiny. But one time it happened, I was like walking, because San Francisco is like, there's a lot of parks and that are mixed into the city. So they're kind of like jumping between, so they'll like walk through the neighborhood. And then a lot of ravens, which I love. And I feel like every time I go to the beach, the raven, like, there's one that'll come right up. I'm like, okay, this is getting too witchy. Like, again, really growing my comfort level on the animals, but I'm also just like inviting it in. But I also live across the street from a bison paddock. That was really cool. They were like rescued bison in Golden Gate Park, SF. And that I actually really miss them. And like, I would go and sit at this old apartment. I would just go sit and like stare at them and cry as I do.
Bison are so majestic.
Mm-hmm.
When I moved, I drove cross country and we like made Yellowstone one of the stops.
Yeah.
And like to see bison like up close, like they were, you know, traffic stopped because of them, and there are people getting out of their cars, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, that's
Isn't
a
it so
wild
weird,
animal.
the culture of Yellowstone, of how people, I saw a video recently where somebody went right up and it was the bull. I was like, bitch, they're alone for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, you are so lucky you're not dead.
I feel like that is just so, I don't know, I could be wrong, but it feels so distinctly American to think that you're like entitled to walk up to a wild fucking animal and just be like, what's up? And not have like any consequences for that. Like, I don't know. But yeah, the bison are really majestic.
I saw a video this morning that was a beekeeper, and like, this was just on the thread of distinctly American. It was a beekeeper explaining how, holding like a cluster, saying that these bees were killing the queen, saying that what happens when the queen is either no longer making eggs or just not fulfilling her role, that they will all surround her and flutter and create heat until she suffocates and dies. So she's describing this in the video, and the next thing she does was say, so we're going to save her, and starts like brushing off the other bees to save. And I was just like, are you that disconnected from the cycle of life that they're like just doing what they need to do? And you're like, we're going to just save her. She's not wearing any gloves. She's just like, yeah, they're stinging me. They're not happy about it. I'm like, yeah, because they need a new queen. Like,
yeah, they're stinging you because like you're preventing, like you said, the cycle of life. Like, what do you think?
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
It's just fascinating. I took us really down a whole other track with those animal questions. Midori, what's on your mind right now?
I'm just wondering, like, when you say that, like, how do you perceive your knowing with animals? Like, are you clairaudient? Like, what is, I guess, your spidey senses?
It's a lot of claircognizance, but I will also, like, the way that I always say that I get any sort of like psychic information is like I feel it in my chest first and foremost, and then it's like something gets dropped into my brain, like and it's usually like back here, like it just like gets dropped into my brain, and it is like a combination of like claircognizance, clairsentience. I definitely get feelings, but that's usually more with people. With animals, it's really like a little bit of clairaudience, but like in my own voice, not in like a different voice. And I will sometimes, if I'm not understanding what they mean, I'll get like a flash of a picture, but it's like really quick, and I have to like be incredibly present in order to catch it, which is why I don't like doing my sessions on Zoom, because I'm not like, if there's a camera on, I'm just not as present that way.
Isn't it so cool how we can do these things on just without even, I think Reiki really opened me up to the way that energy could be transferred and connected beyond in person. I was like genuinely mind blown by that. And I think I even have a hard time, not a hard time anymore, but like advocating that to potential clients when I say that I'm like, we don't have to be live on a call. Have you ever had people be like, what? How?
Yeah. And it's, there's no way.
Like those who get it.
Yeah, exactly. And like those who don't, maybe I'm not the practitioner for them, and maybe they do need to find somebody that will do like a live call with them.
That's a question I want to ask you, and I thought of that earlier, was who are you the practitioner for? Who are the people that you are like, this is who I'm for?
I am for super dreamy babes who want to change the fucking world, who see that this shit is not working anymore. The way that things have been done are not working anymore. And they really want to tap into their own power to do that in their life, so that it can like ripple out and like find ways that they can make those ripples happen around them. For anybody who feels like I felt like 6 or 7 years ago, like really tamping down that intuition and wants to connect to it. And the people who are kind of already at threshold for like believing in the magical as part of everyday life, or maybe they're just like almost there and they just want like that little push to like really see that like it's fucking magical that we're even alive on this planet. Like, are you kidding me? Do you look at the sky every day? Like there's like I'm looking out my window at trees right now, and they're all talking to each other, and like I can't hear that, but they know what they're saying and they know what they're doing, and they're not like worried about what time it is in terms of like the fucking 24-hour clock that people have invented. Like they don't give a shit about that. They are on nature's timeline. Now I'm just like talking about trees, but yeah, somebody that
I love it. I'm like, just go.
Yes.
I just
keep going.
You're speaking our language. We are your people.
Like, yes. And yeah.
Yours like, I'm a tree. Yeah.
Yeah, literally. Yo.
Yeah. So people that like love life and want a better world, those are my people.
Yeah. I'm like just so juiced for people to like, just from all of us to be on this timeline together. And every time we have these conversations, I'm like, dang, we really are like stewarding this new way of being. And it's like, I think I get so jaded sometimes with like the way that I see the world. And so I talk to people who I've like never talked to before, like you, who are like coming to the like similar conclusions, right? Or people who like aren't necessarily haven't like crossed that threshold yet and are like just awakening to it. And it's like, I think this is why people who have like us, who have been like attuning to these gifts, which we all have gifts, our spiritual gifts, our psychic gifts.
Yeah, everybody's psychic.
Everyone is in their own way. It just expresses itself in different ways, depending on so many like different factors. But like, wow, it's like, yeah, we need to show it more, and it's like coming out of that sort of fear closet of like, this isn't safe to express, because I'm just seeing like we just need to show people, like even these little moments of like Charlie, right, of like that moment where it happens and it just may crack open a little bit more for people of their belief in the unseen and like in the mystery of life, and how all the synchronicities can weave together and all the patterns, and like it's just such a beautiful creative practice life is. So
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always tell clients, like, or even friends and family who don't really get it, that's just like, what if you just let yourself believe that was magic? what would the downside be? The upside is you feel a little bit of like sparkle in your life and like this like wonder, and who cares if it's not at the end of the day? I mean, we know it is, but it's just like for yourself, like let yourself believe that that was more than a coincidence. And also, like, are you trying harder to rationalize than it is to just like simply believe? Like, I think of my older sister who she's a 12th house sun. So she's definitely, and she even said that she's like, oh, I know I am. And so she's repressed a lot of things. But when I told her about this first, like, really potent mediumship session I had, she was like, yeah, but could they have like looked you up on Facebook before and found out that that was our grandmother's name and blah blah blah? I'm just like, are you trying harder right now to come up with like the most elaborate scheme than it is to just be like, wow, that's probably real. Like
People's realities are
thinking about how the commitment to like materialism is it's a religion in itself. It's almost like a devotion in itself.
Cool.
Because it's almost opposite when people say you're holding on to faith beyond any, like, it's purely faith beyond whatever. And I'm like, but so are you. You're like clinging to a hard faith that nothing else besides what you can see is real. And you're getting dogmatic on it because it's the same thing. Life is so cool. All of us are just like, life is so magical.
It is, like, I don't know, just the chances of even being alive, especially like right now at this very moment where we can all sit here in our own little spaces and sit here and talk about how fucking cool life is. Like, what?
Yeah. Okay. That is what I want to ask too is like, well, one, I just generally believe that we knew we were going to come to a lifetime where we could meet our kin through virtual space. That's fucking cool to think about. And one thing Midori and I have been talking a lot about is getting into Pluto and Aquarius and the possibilities of this internet realm. Like, what do you think about all that? We have like AI. There's so many things emerging. And I think that a lot of this kind of goes back to like decolonization and things that's like clinging to just being in, or not even it's like misused, I think, indigeneity and decolonial conversation that's like, we got to reject all of this and go back. And like you said, like this is ancient technology. Hypnotism is like a framework developed off ancient technology. So what do you think about like that when you think about the future of gathering virtually?
I think that I was actually just talking to somebody about this last week. I think it can be really powerful, especially for those of us who are in areas where we have a harder time finding people who are really on this same path. And, or even like, you know, I know a lot of people are still very COVID cautious because they have to be because they're immune compromised. I still am just because like I don't know, masking became like one of my core values, and I'm still going into grocery stores masked up, and people look at me like I'm bonkers, and I'm just like, maybe you're bonkers. I don't know. I care about other people. And not to say like that everyone has to do that. That's my personal like thing that means a lot to me. But like I think it can be really powerful, and to reject something that can bring us together and like just even like in small little doses of like being reminded like, oh yeah, there are other people out there who are like striving for the same thing, who have similar values, and like being reminded that like you're not so alone in like striving to world build is really, really, really powerful. And I also think that like the other, you know, side of that is that like I think we're going to have to work twice as hard to really maintain the word that's coming to me is integrity of it, like to really maintain like and kind of maybe even forge new spaces for it, because like Pluto is murky and who knows what's going to happen with like the existing platforms. And like there was that whole wild thing where they were going to get rid of TikTok. Like who knows what's going to happen. So I think like really forging new paths for ourselves and like helping people, like I said, who feel a little bit more alone in it, to really stay on the path and like really feel supported and then like feel encouraged. Like, well, if I can find people that are like not near me that think this way, like how can I maybe like look for ways to find other people that are near me? Like what new avenues can I go down in like my immediate vicinity that will allow me to like expand the horizons of like who I'm connecting with?
It's making me think that like our digital selves we're like going into different like it's a different dimension, right? So like we're in this dimension where it's us right now, and it's like what I'm interested in with soft power is to like we're connecting as these like antennas, and we're connecting with people, and we're magnetizing or drawing people into the field with us. And then what I'm interested in though is that it really does translate into the material reality, which is what is not happening on these like very addictive platforms. I feel like with influencer culture, which is like the same as celebrity culture to me, is like you believe these parasocial relationships where you believe you know somebody and you actually don't, which is what's problematic versus what we're building, which is like we're actually connecting and getting to know each other and using it as a tool as a space, actually, like to create a space in a different dimension to get to know each other so that we can like bring it down into the material realm when we meet in person, but we can still like create those relationships from this place. So like, yeah, we can reach out to you in Massachusetts, or we can like build these friendships while still trying to like live our lives and like survive capitalism.
Yeah.
We really are existing in our reality, and I think that's really cool that these spaces that we've been in, Capitolia spaces, are, you know, what we're doing with soft power is like, okay, we're microdosing the reality that we want to be in, and it's just going to continue to ripple out, and that it's like meeting people where they're at. Like, okay, right now the only place that's, you know, just queerness being a central tenet of it all, like, okay, is the only place where you can be your most authentic, expansive self. Is that in a Zoom room? That's okay. Like you're still, that's valid. Like I hate the invalidation of internet relationships where it's like, that's just our generation. We've been online for so long. Like I've met so many, like Midori, we say this all the time. Like we met in person, but we really are more like an online formed relationship. And now it's really materializing more real now. That's like, okay, like how are we going to get this out now, because we had to build that safety and confidence in a Zoom portal to then have the confidence to talk to my family about what I believe in. And like
practice.
Yeah, and also not fight for everybody around me to validate what I believe in, and like work on that validation of myself too, because that was a lot of it. Was like, I want to share this with people, and this narrative that like the internet isn't real. It's like, what is real?
What part of it isn't real? We spend how much of our days on it? Like it's
so
just
weird.
kind of wild to me that people are like being like, yeah, that's not a valid relationship, or, you know, shaming. Actually, I've been thinking a lot about this, like how we're shaming how much time we spend on these platforms instead of being like, how are we actually being in like more conscious relationship? You know, it's like we can't deny that this is where we're at societally. So we just have to work with it, and like it may not be forever. Hopefully not. Hopefully we won't have to be online as much. I mean, that's my wish. But that's just where we're at.
Yeah. Marta, how does hypnotism Why is hypnotism your chosen modality for engineering this change you want to see?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so back to what I was saying before about like so many experiences being super hypnotic, right? Like we have like all of these little portals of time throughout our day that are really hypnotic. And I feel like in a lot of ways that has been weaponized against us and really against the whole world, like the earth itself.
Yeah.
I mean, just going back to, gosh, I could go all the way back to like the beginning of Christianity when people who were like, I want to tread carefully, but like people who were followers of like the teaching of the man who's known as Jesus Christ, who like was like, listen, I'm connecting to this thing and you can too. Like the Gnostics, where they were like really like meditating and being like really connecting with like the universe, that was frowned upon by the church, and they were like, no, that's not really God. You have to have a priest to talk to God, right? So like I could go all the way back to that and be like, that is like the start of using hypnosis against people and against the world, and like having people get disconnected from the earth. Like my mom was raised evangelical, so like her family is but so she left when she had me, and like that's something that's always been like this, like really also probably kept me away from spirituality, because I was like, those people have it life so twisted, like that, if that's spirituality, I don't want it. Like
Yeah.
I don't want it if that's God. So I had to do a lot of like deconstructing, even though I wasn't raised in that. Like I just saw it as a third party person. But anyway, sorry, I'm getting spiderweb brain. So like there's a way that evangelicals view the earth is that God gave man dominion over the earth, not that we are here to be in relationship with it. So I think that's something. And then if you want to like fast forward to like the modern world, the news is so hypnotic.
Talk about hypnosis.
It is so hypnotic, and like my boss plays the news every day, and I hate the news. I don't watch the news in my home. Like, no, that does not
What
happen.
is there to learn? The nothing. It is just a trance. Like,
so it's so hypnotic, and I like feel like that's part of why I'm in this space, is so that I can like study it just like by walking by the stupid TV every day, because they play the same like 4 stories on a loop all day long. The way that newscasters are trained to speak has a very specific cadence that is very hypnotic. Like it's just, I really feel like it is another way. So if you get people scared, they're easier to control. And if you have a 24-hour news cycle beaming into every home all the time, and people like, some people really do watch the news. Like I dated a guy that had the news on all the time, and I was like, no, like
I forget
no.
who, somebody was it on here. Someone came on and said their parent like has CNN running 24 hours and got mad at them when they turned it off.
That's the majority. That's a lot of
It
culture,
is.
y'all. Like this is not. This is very common.
Yeah, it is. And I really
Gosh.
think that is a way to like exert control. Like people talk about like, oh, like they want to control us, and like they want to brainwash us. Like there was like a lot of that when the pandemic happened, right? But it's like, but no, it's been happening, and it's already like it's in the most overt and simultaneously subtle way. Because if you keep people scared, if you keep telling people about all the shit that's happening, whether it's national news or local news, Like every day I hear about like somebody in Massachusetts like getting stabbed or like, you know, whatever. And like or every day there's, you know, unfortunately talk of a mass shooting, right? If you keep beaming that into people's brains, you keep them scared, and they are so scared that they don't know how to envision a different world. And then they also don't even want to try or like have the ability, the capacity to really look and say like, what could change? What could be different?
Yeah.
Because you just have these neural pathways forming of like fear, 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 fear. And then like, there's always like, oh, the Democrats want to do this and the Republicans want to do this. And that again is just like keeping people like stuck in these very narrow ways of being.
Yeah, it's like you're just saying like there's already hypnosis happening everywhere. I'm just joining in the party and naming it. I'm just going to point it out.
Yeah.
And that's what's so ironic so many times in this like puritanical culture is like you're the problem when you point it out. You're like the disruptor when you just name the dynamic. And I feel like that's the source of so many conflicts in my family because we're just observing and then you name it and they go, wait a second, that's not what's happening here. I'm like, well, it kind of is very plain and simply. Like let's just be real about it. And I think it's really cool everything you're saying, like coming at it from a hypnosis angle, Midori coming to the same point from a creativity angle of like our imaginations have been stolen, me from a reproductive angle of like our literal ability to create is being like I'm a broken record, but the deepest investment is literally to stifle our ability to imagine what is different. And so I love that you're approaching that and offering that out in a way of like neuroscience. That's like, all right, like we can keep it, you know, there's something for the creative, something for the nerds, something for the moms, like we're all these things. And I really, really love it. That's just like, yeah, like we're in this is spiritual warfare. Like, that really is it.
Yeah, so I just want to help people like realize that they can use their imagination to build something different, even if that's just something like reframing their relationship with their own self or like with their own intuition, like whatever is going to feel most supportive to them, because when people feel supported and safe, then we have the capacity to dream.
Love. Can you tell us about how you're going to be offering this out in the near future?
Yeah, I'm going to be doing a Paint Your Dream World group hypnosis where we can kind of imagine the dreamiest version of the world and claim our role in the dreamiest version of the world and go into that painting. So then when we come out of hypnosis and we come back into the quote unquote real world, we can bring those aspects of ourself and of that world into everything that we do.
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
Like whenever you just tell me, do you know when yet or not yet?
I have a date. Oh God, I'm so bad. I think it's on my booking page. There's a date.
Okay.
It's July 22nd.
Cool. So everybody go to the info. We'll link that so you can join, because that is exactly what we all need. And I'm really juiced for that. Everything you described, I'm like, yeah, fun. It's just so fun. The imagination's so fun. And I think that's really it. It's like this whole thing, like, yeah, we're talking about the dark things, the scary things, the fear. And it's like, y'all, it's just fun. Like we're literally like how like time travel is real. You don't need to watch the movies about it. I hear about like what shows are going on. We watch the movies and we're like, me and Midori all the time. We're like, I turn it off. Our real lives are more magical than that. Like we turn off like the most popular fantasy series. We're like, Well, we live that every day. We jump portals and like meet our ancestors and like, traversing realms. Like,
Yes.
My brain has enough information to work off of that I don't need help visualizing through films at this point.
yeah, the material is there.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's ready for fun questions?
Let's go.
Because this stage, I always just Google fun rapid fire questions, and this one's a little bit hilarious. Would you eat a day old taquito from 7-Eleven? Yes or no, guys?
I think Marta's answer.
Have I even had a taquito? What is there meat in them?
Oh, do you eat meat?
No.
Okay, so no.
That's a no. I definitely would.
I'm like, I might.
If it was cheese, yeah, I would.
Okay.
You're hungry.
Yeah.
Ooh, actually, this is a good one for you. Are dogs people?
Yeah. 100% yes. We didn't even have to think on that.
Okay. If there's
They
a spider,
totally are.
love.
They totally
If
are.
there's a spider in your house, what do you do about it?
Leave it.
Same.
Same.
When I learned that their cognition is in their webs, I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do anymore. I could never touch another spider web.
I didn't know that.
I learned that recently, that their cognition, there's more studies coming out that their cognition is in the web, and that when you clear it out, they like have a stroke.
No, now I feel terrible for every time I've ever been hiking and walked through a spider web.
Sorry, I might have should have kept that to myself because I felt the same. And there's literally a daddy long legs in my corner, and I'm like, this is your home now. This is your home now.
Get a room full of cancers, and this is what will happen. I'll gasp. Remember all the times you've accidentally cleared out a spider web.
Okay, black or pinto beans in your burrito?
Black.
Same.
Yeah, same.
What Super Mario Brothers character are you? I'm Princess Peach.
I'm Toad.
This isn't who I would pick, but Luigi was the
Yeah,
first.
I was
Love.
Luigi. I don't know why.
These questions are
I'm
so
not sure.
amazing.
There's no
What is wind?
Oh,
Can we
wind is
pull it?
everything. Like,
I'm like, whoever wrote these questions did not expect them to end up on a witch show because these are getting really. It is everything, everywhere, all at once.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about cranberries?
Neutral. I don't know. Cranberry bogs are pretty cool. Cranberry bogs are pretty cool. We have a lot of them around here, and they're super liminal if you think about it. They're all like cranberries
they're
floating
like
around.
floating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very neutral about them too. Like, I don't have any strong feelings.
Yeah.
They're there.
My story with cranberries is that when I was like 8 years old, my grandma tried a new cranberry sauce recipe at Thanksgiving, and I helped her the one time. And every year my family calls it Siobhan's cranberry sauce, and I literally made it that one time when I was 8. So I have a really great relationship. Maybe I'm a little I have a tie to cranberries. Which of the 7 dwarfs do you resonate with?
Sleepy.
Dopey.
Sleepy for sure.
You're Doc, Midori.
The elder? I'm the elder? Cool.
Yeah. What's for dinner tonight?
I have
That's
no
all the
idea.
No clue either. I need to go to the grocery store after. Would you rather cuddle a baby panda or a baby penguin?
Panda.
Yeah, same. Have you ever gone to a sleepaway camp?
No.
I did. Yeah, and it was pretty traumatic because my best friend pooped her pants on a hike And it was really sad because it was very embarrassing for her, and I had to go hike back with the teacher and help her shower. It's like the main memory I have of that camp.
Wow. Wow. You're a great friend. All right. What's the most embarrassing store that you would be caught shopping at? That's an interesting one.
I feel like my inner teen just came out and said Hot Topic.
Love.
We love Hot Topic.
I'm like, maybe Target? I don't know.
What is it?
It said the most embarrassing store.
What did you
you'd
say?
be caught at. I said maybe Target. I don't know. Is that embarrassing?
I love Target. It's annoying.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a theory about Target, and actually there was this person on TikTok that also had a theory, and theirs was
Ooh.
different but similar. They say, and I don't know, I saw this like 2 years ago, so I don't know their handle or anything, but they say that Targets are portals, which I like 150% agree with. And I also swear that they pump pure oxygen in the stores, because every time I'm having a bad day and I go to Target, I'm just like, everything's fine now. Like, talk about hypnotic.
Yeah.
Well, the music, like
Target totally has a hypnosis thing going on.
They don't play music.
No,
very
they
loud at
don't.
all, or if at all. The lighting is always the same. It's like a Vegas hotel situation where they're
Yeah.
like, it's always like the same experience. It's nostalgic. So like if you're somewhere new, you know you can go there and just like, yeah, I love that. I've always thought about that too.
So interesting. I was thinking the other day about, I was at the mall and I was thinking about it as a portal because I was sitting there with my mom and my son eating, and I just started to like see my teen self with my friends, my like all this stuff. And I was sitting in the food court and I was like, what a portal. And then a few days later, my friend Selena texted me and was like, this is a weird question, but let's meet for lunch at the mall. It just feels nostalgic. I was like, we're headed into the portal. Yes. So that's my new crossroads, is the Stonestown Galleria food court.
I love that.
I don't know.
I spent 8 years of my life working in a mall. So
what store or stores?
American Eagle.
Interesting. I totally see that.
I just stumbled into it. Like, I needed a job, and this girl
I never worked in a
middle
mall.
school was like, oh, my boyfriend's sister works there. Go interview. And then I ended up like just staying there because I didn't know what the hell. Like, I just needed money, and when I left, I was an assistant manager. I just went through all like the possible things I could do. Because I was
see it now, the low-rise jeans and the layered tank tops.
And the flannels.
So many flannels.
Flannels. Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you enjoy garlic? It's an 11 for me.
Oh, yeah.
I love garlic.
Okay, that was an easy one. Which animal brings more joy to the world, squirrels or llamas?
Llamas.
Yeah, for sure. Sour Patch Kids or Swedish Fish?
Swedish Fish.
Sour Patch Kids.
Dang, that's a hard one.
It is.
I think I can eat more volume of Swedish Fish because they don't, irritate your tongue.
Have you ever seen a kangaroo in person?
I don't know.
Actually, yeah, at the SF Zoo. I think they have. Ooh, you're at a carnival. What are you getting to eat?
Cotton candy.
I'd say a corn dog.
Corn dog.
All right. And I think the last one. What? Oh, hold on a second. This is a really great last question because I didn't know this was an acronym. What does the acronym SCUBA stand for? Did everyone's mind just get blown that SCUBA is actually an acronym?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
There's not an answer on here, so now I gotta look it up. Take your guesses. Take your guesses. SCUBA.
Sensory.
Submersive.
Oh, submersive. There you go. I entrust Marta for this task.
I don't know what could come after that.
Immersive collation, is that a word?
That was the worst last question. I'm so
I was like, what? That's a really cool next question.
self-contained underwater breathing apparatus.
Oh.
Oh, that's way more boring than where my brain was going.
Right? Okay. And the very last one is cake or pie.
Oh, that's hard, but pie.
Same. I'm gonna have to say pie. What kind of pie? If you could have any kind of pie today, what would it be?
Today, it would be blueberry pie.
I was gonna say that. And I don't even think I've ever had blueberry pie. So
Another
here.
evidence of proof that we are.
This is our psychic magic show. This one is asking for trouble. Fill in the blank. Taylor Swift is blank.
Problematic.
Oh, boom, period.
Listen,
We're now entering viral content strategy hour.
Y'all, I didn't
Overrated
know that she
would be
was
mine.
this popular until I saw like hordes and hordes. I guess she had a concert here.
What kind of hypnosis you think is going on?
That's what I'm saying. They were all wearing the same thing, you know, holographic clothing. It's like silver holographic clothing, future cowgirl situation, cowgirl hats, holographic clothing. It's interesting.
That is interesting. I think that just to like the level of
homogeneity
when it comes to like pop stars and like the cult of pop stars. And like I was very anti Taylor Swift, and then like 2020 I got sucked in and like, okay, yeah, I like her music, it's fun, like I'll bop out to it, but I really think that she is somebody that has like worked really hard to like get where she is. And also I was thinking the other day, I'm pretty sure she's a Sagittarius and she has a song called The Archer, and I'm like, do you work with an astrologer? Like, do you? I don't know. I don't want to go on to like Taylor Swift
conspiracy
theories. Yeah, she might. There's totally like some engineering, some strategy behind it, because even the things she won't say are very, very strategic.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to leave it off. I don't want to leave it off on that question. I'm going to leave with my favorite question, which isn't on here, which is, what is your cartoon character uniform? You know how they always have like the same outfit every day? Tell us your cartoon character uniform.
Ooh. My cartoon character uniform is jeans and like a boxy t-shirt with a big oversized sweater or like hoodie and Vans. Slip-ons.
Cozy.
Yep.
Love it. Well, Marta, I am so happy that we got to have this chat with you. I am so excited to just continue to like see the way that your work ripples out exactly like you intend to. And I can't wait for this group hypnosis session.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for having me. This was so fun.
All right. Well, we are Soft Power. I'm Siobhan. This is Midori. You can catch us here every Wednesday on YouTube live at 1:11 Pacific, 3:11 Central, 4:11 Eastern. We are here always talking about journeys, bringing on friends to share their journeys of the pursuit of alignment and embodiment in their life for the purpose of all our liberation. So catch us. We have, if you would like to support our show, we have our coffee in the bio, and all of the money right now is going to support our fundraising effort for the Care Immersion, which is a group that Marta is a part of, though she was not part of it when we first invited her on, but I'm really excited for that development. We're raising money for the future of community caregiving from a radical perspective. And so if you'd like to support us to continue, holler at us. You can subscribe to our Substack, our Instagram. And with that said,
catch you next time.
See you next week.